We mentioned yesterday with Siyata D'Shmaya an interesting question. An interesting question, Benogeya, regarding the Yerida of the Mon. We know that the Mon, Parshas Peshalach, Parat Hazayin, talks about the Mon, the heavenly Mana, the Ziv Ashchina Shenezgashim, and the Lashon of the Ramban, Rav Tzadok Cohen, and others. We have this miraculous food falling from the skies above. Now we know the Mon did not fall on Shabbos, hence the din of Lechem Mishnah. We have the double portion on Erev Shabbos, and thus we have the Lechem Mishnah. The question is, do we have Lechem Mishnah also when it comes to Yontif? Did the Mon fall on Yontif? Did it not fall on Yontif? Big machlokes in the Midrash Chazal, a mechilt on the one side, a Midrash Rabbi on the other side. Seems to be a din in the Rishonim. Tosfos deals with it in Maseches Beah. Dav Beis Amud Beis, and Tosfos explains we have a machlokes in the Rishonim based on the Midrash Chalukis. We have a sheet of the Rif and the Rambam, and the Mechaber clearly espouses their opinion in Archaim and Uchos Yontif Tavkum Chavtes that we have the din of Lechem Mishnah not only Benogei on Shabbos, we have Lechem Mishnah also on Yontif. Why is that? Because the same way the Mon did not fall on Shabbos, and we had the double portion on Yom HaShishi, so too, the Mon did not fall on Yontif. We had a double portion on Erev Yontif. So we did discuss, touched upon it, albeit briefly, in the Shiur of Shabbos HaGodol yesterday. We talked about this, an interesting question that one has to raise in the sheet of the Pnei Yeshua. And the Avnei Nezer, the Pnei Yeshua, writes in his Chedushim and Be'ah, Dav Beis Amud Beis, the Avnei Nezer, the Sukkot of Rabbi, in his Shuvas and Orchaim and Simcha Kuf Lamed. What's the reason why the Mon did not fall on Shabbos? There are many different reasons in the Rishonim and the Achrayim. According to the Pnei Yeshua and that Avnei Nezer, the Ikar reason, not mutually exclusive with other Talmim, but the Ikar reason is the Yisro Tzal. As an Yisro Tzal, a Meilov, the Mon is not going to fall on Shabbos. He can't violate the Yisro Tzal. That's how Shabbos begins. We have the mission of Klal Godol, the bottom of Vayin, and Gimel and Aleph enumerating the Arba Chasrachas, the Lamatas Malachas. We begin with the Yetzias Shabbos, Shtayim Shein Arba. We have Tosfos citing us a number of reasons. We have the Maral and Chedushas Goraryeh. Why Shabbos? Why the longest Masech in Shas by words? It's not brachas. As Rav Chaim Kanievsky pointed out, it's to tell us that people erroneously attribute to the Gra that he said the longest Masech in words is brachas. Chaim said the Gra never said it because it's not true, and you won't find it in Sefer Gra. The longest Masech in words is Shabbos. Longest in Dapim, of course, is Bava Basra with the number 176, but the longest in words is Shabbos. You have 24 Prakim, Kufran and Zion, and Shabbos begins with Hotzah. A big discussion in the Rishonim and Achronim why begin with Hotzah, but Hotzah applies on Shabbos, and you don't have an Hotzah on Yom Tov, which is exactly the Maral in the Kedushas Goraryeh. We'll start the Masechta by that Nekuda, and that specific Malacha that differentiates it in contrast to Yom Tovim, which are the Shar Mikrai Kodesh. I know if you want to start Shabbos, be Maschil, commence Masechta Shabbos with the defining aspect, La'afuke, that it's not a Yontif. What makes it different? We know, yes, Mishnah, Megillah, Zayin, and Beis, Eim Shabbos, L'Yontif, L'Elchon Nefesh Bilvad. Mefarshei Mishnah will point out, Avada, the Ikar Nekuda, Sachilik is Otzah. Elchon Nefesh, you're not allowed to cook on Yontif because you're not allowed to carry food to other people on Shabbos, which you're allowed to cook on Yontif, where there's no Isra, you can carry the chulent and the brisket and the potato could go to other people as well. So there's an Isra Otzah on Shabbos, Meilo the Mon cannot fall on Shabbos. So we asked the Kasha, L'chayra, and it's a Kasha that many ask on the Pnei Yeshua and Avnei Nezer, then L'chayra, the Mon should fall on Yontif. If the Ikar Tav, why it didn't fall on Shabbos is Otzah, there's no Isra Otzah on Yontif, so let the Mon fall on Yontif. And we explain, L'chayra, it's Poshet, the Mon can't fall on Yontif, because the same way, you have a mitzvah of covered Shabbos, you have a mitzvah of covered Yontif, and it's a Mefurish Rambam, where the Rambam writes, and Uchos Yontif Berak Vav Alochet Zayin, Kishem that there's a mitzvah of Koved and Oneg Legabe Shabbos, there's an identical mitzvah of Koved and Oneg Legabe Yontif. So the same way he starts in the last parak of Uchos Shabbos Perek Lamed, based on the pasuk in Yeshayin and Chesed Gimel across the Shabbos Oneg, it's a Yom Mechubad V'chibadat over Rechacha. They're dinim of Koved, and they're dinim delineated by the Rambam that are called Oneg under the rubric of Koved and Oneg respectively. The same manner there's Koved and what's a din in Koved, as the Rambam writes clearly in Perek there's a din in covered Shabbos, which is being meichen, and that's the briskarov we spoke on yesterday. Daf Shem Laman Aleph in the Chedushas Hagrach, Al Shas Machine the briskarov, Rav Tzadok Cohen and Pritzadik and Brachus in the famous Gra, and Sivkot and Hey and Orchaim and Tovkov Chavtes. Covered is what you do beforehand. So Mela, the Mon can't fall on Yontif. If the Mon fell on Yontif, then I have no din of kiyum of covered, and I have a kiyum whether you're going to hold covered like the Arayim and Tovkov Chavtes is a mitzvah daraisa where you can hold like the Ramam and Perek Lamed. Shabbos halacha aleph that it's Medivrei Sefer and Medivrei Anavim. Hakoponim, I need heichitzimtza to be Mekayim Kovid Yontif and Kovid Zadin and being Mechin for Yontif. So I can't have the mon fall on Yontif. I need adequate time to prepare on my mon. I need to prepare also for Yontif. We suggest it. So Lamaisa, we have a din of preparing both on Shabbos and Yontif. So that was the one reason we mentioned very briefly the Maral as well. The Maral Miprag is a different Mahalach. And the Maral writes in his Chidushay, Gur Aryeh and Rashi, Parshas Peshalach, with regards to the Inyan of the Mon. The Maral says, you're right, the Mon could have fallen in Yontif. But you know why it didn't fall on Yontif? Azok the Maral, because Kedushas Yontif is Novea from Kedushas Shabbos. Shabbos is always referred to as what? Chilul Mikrai Kodesh and Shabbos Ikri Moed. Ad Kedei Kach Zok the Maral, the whole musig of Kedusha V'Nogeya Yontif is Novea, it emanates from the Kedusha Shabbos. So the same way the Mon can't fall on Shabbos, Machmas Kedushas Shabbos, it can't fall on Yontif. So this, you can ask all the kashas you want. Abimetzias Advarim, if it can't fall on Shabbos, then Makochlik, it can't fall on Yontif, because the Kedusha of Yontif is Novea from the Kedusha of Shabbos. And the Mela, if the Mon doesn't fall on Shabbos, it likewise does not fall on Yontif. That's the Maral and Gur Aryeh Parshas Peshalach Perek Tesai. Comes out very interesting. We have a kasha that we raised many times in the past. We raised it at various shalshudas. We have Shisha Sirei Mishnah. We have the famous Rebbe's in the Hagdama to Tikkuni Zohar Dafayim and Aleph. We have the Shisha Sirei Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, together with his trusted colleague Rabbi Nosson, consolidated. We have the Mishnah canon consisting, containing therein all of the Shisha Sirei Mishnah. We have the Remez Zman Nakat. Zman Nakat, it's a question whether this order, this Seder, this sequence is accepted by everybody. We have other Midrashim that are mashma not like that, but we have what's called Zman Nakat, and that's the acronym for Zroim, Moed, Noshim, Nezik, and Kochim and Taharis. And we have a smach. What's the asmachta? Let's go to Masech Shabbos, the bottom of Daf Lam and Aleph and Aleph. And the Gemara there cites the pasuk in Yeshaya, Perek Lam and Gimel pasuk Vav. V'haya Amunas Itecha Chos in Yeshuas Chachmas V'das. Amunas is Seder Zroim. Itecha is a Seder Moed. Parenthetically, the Marsha says, why is it Itecha Moed? Moed is Loshen Yachid. Itecha is Loshen Rabbim. Why is Itecha Loshen Rabbim? Zok the Marsha, because you have to learn in the morning and you have to learn at night. Amunas Itecha, there's a Zman to learn in the morning, there's a Zman to learn at night. Asamelo, there are two Zmanim, and that's the Zman, Yeshua, Perakal Posach Chesed, Gisa, Yom Avalaylos, there's a Zman to learn in the morning, a Zman to learn at night, and Nadarm Dav Chesed, now if you're Yotze B'Di'ever with Kriya Shema the Shachris, Kriya Shonaris, but you need two Moadim, you need two Zmanim, that's Yitecholosh and Rabbim. Akopon, the Nusach is Moed. Every other one of the headings in the Shishas and the Mishnah is expressed Bolosh and Rabbim in the plural conjugation. It's Zroim, it's Noshim, it's not an Isha, it's Seder Noshim, it's Nezikin. And now it's Tam Hezek, not Nezek Be'alma, it's Nezikin, it's Kochim, it's Taris. The only one that stands out, the Yotzim and Aklal, the aberration is Seder Moed. It ought to have been Moedim, especially Hagisa Yom Ha'itecha. Why is it Moed when it should have been Moedim? And l'chayro, it's not the only Gemara. We have also a Merush until Kapitel Yutes Posuk Gedalit Merush and Bamira Rabbi as well. Rav David Cohen writes it at the beginning of his Kuntrus Zman Nakah. There you have also another Asmakta based on the Pasuk Tos Hashem Tamimo, that's Seder Noshim, and we have various. And it says Bikurish Zeh Seder Moed. Anytime we talk about it, there's no Seder Moedim, even though it's Kolol, all the Moedim. Shabbos, Eruvim, Pesach, Mishkolim, Yom Sukkah, Be'erosh Hanatas, Megil Makon Chagiga. Kayidu and Rochaim Kaneski said Tzaddik Kodesh Levrach was a young child. How did his father get him to sleep? He used to be in the middle of learning. Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein writes he used to take a belt or a string and tie it to Rav Chaim's little crib rocking, and he used to learn and chuckle back and forth while he was shaking Rav Chaim's crib. This way he could get two birds with one stone. He could continue his learning, and he would shake Rav Chaim at the same time. And how would he get him to calm him down, to assuage him, to get him to go to sleep? He'd say over the names of the Masechtas Shas. Ad Kedei Kach was so ingrained in Rav Chaim that whenever he counted, it wasn't Oshea, he always used to count what? Shabbos, Eruvim, Pesachim, Shkolim. He counted with the Masechtas Shas. That's a Chaim was so ingrained in him already. It's always all the chazals. It's always moed. It's not moedim, and that needs a beer. Why tak is a loshen yochid? Why not loshen rabbim? They're all loshen rabbim, and all the asatas, everything. And it's very geshmak, by the way. Why is it Maruma is certainly alluded to in the Rosh Tevis based on Tikkun Zohar and Agdama Daf Hey. Why is it Zman Nakat? Writes the Barbanel Givaldik, because what's Zman Nakat? The Rosh Tevis of Shisha Suri Mishnah, which is the nucleus of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Sheba'al Peh begins what? When Klal Yisrael was given the koach. When were they given a koach of shlita? Ha'chodesh zelachem and Yoni Diyoma, the first mitzvah given to the Am. Ha'chodesh zelachem Rosh Chadoshim, Rosh Hashanah, Chafayim and Aleph. The Gemara Darshans, what's Atem? Hashem, what's Atem? Atem, Afilu Meizidin, Atem, Afilu Shugin, Atem, Afilu Ton. Hainu, we have such a shlita, Mikoveya, the Zman, and Torah Sheba'al Peh belongs to us. Akerekach, that even if we make a toss, inadvertently and even purposely, Afilu Meizidin, we're Koveya, Zakta Ramanel. That's why Zman, when we were given the mitzvah Zman, that Zman already sets the stage. That already is the shoresh for Torah Sheba'al Peh. How are we going to be Marames Torah Sheba'al Peh? Zora Moed, the Shemus Sidrei Shas, they'll be Marumas so appropriately, and Zman Nakat. Grab onto Zman. Grab onto Zman. Holds onto Zman. Zakta Barbanel. Because Zman, you control Zman. You control, you have a shlita. It's Atam Afilu Meizid and Afilu Torah. You control Zman. You control that's Torah Sheba'al Peh. Sedavka writes there Barbanel, it'll be Marumas and the Indian of Zman Naka. But we have to explain why Taka is it Moed and not Moadim when they're all Lashon Rabbim. So there are various terutzim. We spoke out once the Smichas Chachamim, Abai Ram Naftali Katz. Not only Smichas Chachamim, there is also the Kuntras Tio Bapardes under a Maharal's brothers Igeras Hatio Nachel Kedushas and also Moadim. Different answers. Akrei Kach. One of the biggest Bekiim I know in the world today is the Baal Machaber of Megodim Chadashim. Anyone who uses there's a separate first sefer he came out with on Inyonim Shonim Megodim Chadashim. Rabbi David Yoel Weiss quoted him yesterday as well. He has Megodim Chadashim and Brochus and Shabbos and Eruvin and Moikot and Chagiga. He has on most of Chamisha Chumshei Torah as well. An unbelievable book. He sits and learns all day long in Eretz Yisrael. Half the dig a book, and I'm going to spoil that he didn't bring too many marmakomas over here. Seder Moed is going in Megodim Chadashim and Sech Shabbos Daf Lamed Aleph Lamed Aleph. Yesh le'ayin. Lama Seder Moed Nikra B'Loshen Yochid Shara Storm B'Loshen Rabbim Zerub Noshim Nezik and Kodesh Derives Ra'isi B'Sefer Tiyul B'Partis on the Geras HaTiyul Tzchelik HaDrush Shehevi Laur B'Zeh and Kosashum Levar Adas HaDrush. He gives one to Ulafip Shuto Tzorch Yishav Ra. And the world of Pshat needs a Yishav Ra, and he doesn't bring down any of the Marmakomas. We said there are a few of them, few different answers. All for the Smisa Chamim. One of the answers I mentioned in the past was the Sifsei Tzadik. Now the Sifsei Tzadik says, you know the reason it's called Moed and not Moedim? Azok the Sifsei Tzadik from Ger, because all the Moedim are Zeich L'Tzias Tzrayim. The same way the Medrash Shochotel Mishlei Parsha Tes La Salova Kol Moedim Yuba Taylor, famous Chuvas Rashba, Azok the Rashba and other Rishonim, because the Iker, all the Moedim is Zeich L'Tzias Tzrayim. So once we're going to have the Nisim of Yemos Mashiach and the Sigin Brachos Yud Beis and Beis that the Nisim of Yemos Mashiach will be Meshachas as Rishonis, they'll overpower and overwhelm all the miracles in Nisim Mitzrayim. So we're not going to have Zeich L'Tzias Tzrayim. Mela Purim's going to stick. Purim's in Yontav Darabanan, and like the Maral's brother is Go Race in his Sefer Chaim Chelik Panas V'Chakola Chelik Gimel Per Gimel, and like the Ateres Kingdom in the beginning of Chanukah as well, it's Chutz Mi Chanukah v'Purim. These are Yom Tov, they'll always be around, but the Yom Tov is Zeich L'Tzias Tzrayim. So right, so say Tzaddik, all the Kedusha, the Moedim is Noveya from Pesach. It all started with Pesach. Pesach is the first of the Moedim. So the reason it's Moed and not Moedim, writes the Sifsei Tzaddik, is Moed's a reference to Pesach, and all the Moedim are Noveya, the Kedusha from Pesach. That's Moed Pesach. It's a beautiful malach of the Sifsei. I always ask the kasha that it would be Geshmak if the only Meseftis in Moed would be Moedim. But that's not how we begin Moed. It's not a stira because Shabbos Sikri Moed. But L'chaira Shabbos Eruvin, and only then Pesach Mishkalim Yimasukah Be'Rosh Hashanah Megil Moikot Chagiga. But how do we Shabbos Eruvin? And L'chaira it should be Geshmak like the Shem Yishmuel Nesasemis and so many others. And Rabbi said like the Maral that I just said a couple of minutes ago. Maral just told us, you know why the Mon didn't fall on Yontif? Because Kedushas Hamoadim and Kedushas Yotiv is Noveya from Kedushas Shabbos. If the Mon didn't fall on Shabbos, and it's Machmas Kedushas Hayom, Yomim Tovim that are also branded the appellation of Mikroi Kodesh, likewise they're Noveya, they're Kedusha all from Shabbos. If the Mon didn't fall on Shabbos, it can't fall on Yotiv. So like the Maral and Gurarye and Bashalach, you see that what? Not that all the Moedim can be Noveya from Pesach, but even Pesach, all the Moedim are Noveya, the Kedusha where from Shabbos. And it would be very Geshmak if we we could learn the Feiner Daiti, the Moed doesn't stand for Pesach like the Sifsei Tzaddik wanted to suggest, but the Feiner Daiti, Pesach stands for, Moed stands for Shabbos, and Shabbos Ikri Moed, Gevaldik Moed. How do you start Shabbos? Of course we start with Shabbos, Shabbos Ikri Moed, and all like the Maral, all the Kedushas of the Hamoadim is Novei, it emanates, it's all drawn from Kedushas Shabbos. So how apropos, Maseches Seder Moed, Moed a reference to Feiner Daiti to Shabbos, will begin Moed appropriately with Shabbos, Shabbos Erevin, and only then journey on to Pesach and Mishkalim V'chulam. So we have perhaps my humble mahalech, and we have the Sifsei Tzaddik. The Feiner Daiti, it's not such a stira, because Rabbi said we have a Pachad Yitzchak. Pachad Yitzchak 3 times, it could be it's more, but a Pachad Yitzchak in Shabbos and Maimer Tes, Pachad Yitzchak in Shavuos and Maimer Yud Beis, and Pachad Yitzchak in Pesach and Maimer Chafei. The Rav Hudner, the Baal Pachad Yitzchak, says in 3 places. We have an interesting kasha. Shabbos always precedes the Moadim. Whenever Shabbos appears in the Moadim, it's always what? Tchila, Mekrai Kodesh, Parshas Hamar. We always start with Shabbos, and then we go into the Moadim. So that's the way it always is, almost always. Because there's one exception. One exception is in Parshas Kisisa. Parshas Kisisa, Perek Lamed Daled, we start out with what is Chag HaMatzos Tishmor, Shivas Yom Toch HaMatzos Asher Tzvi Yisicha, and then you have what? A few Pesukim later, Sheishas Yom Tabed V'Yom HaShvi Tishmos, and then Chag HaShavuos. Frekta, what's going on? Shabbos is always Tchila Mekroy Kodesh. We always start with Shabbos, and all of a sudden in Kisisa we start with Pesach, and then we go to Shabbos. Shabbos is Tchila Mekroy Kodesh. Why are you mahapich the Seder? So we have a Maral into First Yisrael Perek Mem Gimel. You do a dik Maral who explains the Shino and the Shonas and the Luchas Rishonis that appear, of course, in Parshas Yisrael. The Umas in contradistinction to the Nusach of the Luchas Shnias that appear in Parshas Ve'eschanan, the Luchas post the Chet Egel when the Shtabru HaLuchas and Yud Zayin B'Tamez. And then we had the second set of Luchas, that's the Nusach in Eschanan, and the Maral explains it based on the Yesod that the Luchas Rishonis are closer to the Nosein HaTorah, to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Luchas Shniyos are closer to the Makabli HaTorah. Hashem is giving over the Torah. That's what, when you're giving over an item to someone else, so it's in your hands. But when you're handing it to someone else, now it's starting to get closer. Bereshis, Shmos, Vayikra, and Bamidbar are closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, writes the Maral. Devarim, Mishnah Torah, Pi Atzo Amoran is closer to Moshe Rabbeinu having a Tfisas Yad, the Sugya Megillah, to Devarim, because Devarim already is the end of Chamisha Chumshei, and it's closer. So Luchas Shnias is Luchas Shnias, that's closer to the Makabli HaTorah, and that's in Veschonan, couched in the context of Mishnah Torah, of Sefer Devarim, right? So, but it's not just in that, it's that the whole musag of what? Of the Luchas Rishonis versus the Luchas Rishonis highlights this difference between closer to Hashem or closer to Klal Yisrael. If you look at the Nusach in Yisrael, Anochi Hashem Lokecha, and that's what starts it out. I took you out of Mitzrayim. And why are you going to keep Shabbos? In Yisrael and the Luchas Rishonis, you know why you're keeping Shabbos? What does the Pasuk say? Because David rested on day number 7. Hashem Sheish Yamim, and then day number 7 Tishmos. Hashem rested on day number 7. We have to rest on day number 7. And the Nusach of the Luchas Shnias, why do we rest on day number 7? And why do we keep Shabbos? Because Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. It says because Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, not because of Shabbos Bereshis, because of Shabbos Mitzrayim. Hazok Tafuner, that's the difference. The difference is that in Kisisa we're talking about the first time it's given, post the Chet Egel. Before the Chet Egel, that's the Luchas Rishonis. And the Luchas Rishonis, it's what? It's Shabbos. Shabbos because God rested on day number 7. You have to rest on day number 7. But in the Kisisa, which is highlighting the Luchas Shnias is already closer to the Makabli HaTorah than the Nosein HaTorah. Why are you keeping Shabbos? Because you went out of Mitzrayim. You went out of Mitzrayim and I gave you the mitzvah Shabbos when you left Mitzrayim. That's why you're going to keep Shabbos. Not because I rested in the end of the day, we put the two together, but that's the difference in the Nuschos. Al Pi Rafuner, the Feiner Daiti, one could suggest the following. Eina Chanami, Shabbos precedes Pesach at all places. Shabbos, the Ikar reason we keep Shabbos, as it's introduced to us in Yisrael, couched in the Nusach of the Luchas Rishonis, God rested on day number 7. We too have to rest on day number 7. That's the Nusach of the Luchas Rishonis. Luchas Rishonis, as Rafuner explained based on the Maral, is closer to the Makabli HaTorah, Dahainu, we, Klal Yisrael, the recipients of Torah Seder HaKadosha, and it's closer to us. You know why we keep Shabbos there? Because God took us out of Mitzrayim. Who went out of Mitzrayim? We went out of Mitzrayim. So Mela writes of Hudner in Kisisa, the introduction of the Luchas Shnias given post the Chet Egel, which took place earlier in Kisisa. There we reverse the order, and first it's Pesach and then Shabbos to highlight the Shabbos that we have post the Chet Egel is a Shabbos of Hazeich L'Tzias Mitzrayim and not a Shabbos Zeicha to the Eibishter. Feiner Daiti, now it's very Gishmak. We're holding in Torah Shabbat Peh. We're holding in Shisha Sirei Mishnah. And Shisha Sirei Mishnah, we're talking about what? Our Tfisas Yad, the Makabli Torah, the Balei Dover over the Torah. Se'ena Chanami, the Sifsei Tzadik would be Geshmak. If you want to talk about all the Moadim, Al L'Chaira, or if you want to talk about the Maral, and that would be very Geshmak. And that what? That Shabbos starts it all. And Shabbos always starts it all. All the Kedusha of Yom Tov is away from Kedusha Shabbos. Which Kedusha Shabbos? The fact that God rested on day number 7, that book Kedusha that's Kvi B'Kaina to the Roman Mela. But the Sifsei Tzadik isn't shver. Yes, we could suggest the Moed refers to Shabbos, and it all begins with Shabbos. Sifsei Tzadik can hold no. Sifsei Tzadik will argue with Eytan Feiner and say, it's very matin. I might agree that Moed ideally would stand for Shabbos, and I might agree to the Maral that the Kedusha and the Moedim is November Kedusha Shabbos. But if now I'm labeling Torah Shabbat Peh, Shisha Sirei Mishnah, we're highlighting the Makabli Torah, not the Nosin Torah Shabbat Sav. We're talking about the Makabli Torah. And if in Sefer Devarim we change the Nusach to highlight the Makabli Torah. When I journey from Stam Moshe Piazza Moran to Torah Shabbat Peh Mamish, and if I'm holding a Torah Shabbat Peh Mamish, then we reverse the order of Shabbos and Pesach. And then what? The Shabbos really follows the fact that we got out of Mitzrayim. So the Sifsei Tzadik Lefi and Yestaiti will argue the Moed will stand not for Shabbos, the Moed will stand for Pesach. And now that we have Moed that stands for Pesach Loshen Yochid, now we can start Shabbos Erevim Sachim Shkolim, because just like in Kisisa Luchashnias post the Chet Egel. Now we're madif the Shabbos of Yetzias Mitzrayim over the Shabbos of Ma'aseh Bereishis. Pesach gets the ball rolling, and only then do I have Shabbos. So Sifsei Tzadik will argue Moed stands for Pesach, and only then do I begin Shabbos Eivrim Pesachim Shkolim Salamaisa Eilu Veilu Dilkim Chaim. There's a bechina of all the Kedusha coming out of Shabbos, but Mitzad Sheni there's an aspect of it coming out of Pesach. Take your pick, Moed, a reference to Shabbos or a reference to Pesach. Either way, Loshen Yochid. The question's answered. Have an awesome night and a good Tavach ahead.